everyone. Thanks for joining today's session. Today's topic is one I'm personally very excited about. It's bringing your classic dashboards to Kinetic apps. I believe some of you may still already be working with the classic dashboards which you have built over the years, and they have served you well. Others on the other side, I believe some of you have already started working with Kinetic and look at that modern interface. Wherever you are in that journey, I think this session will help you, and this is for you. What we will talk about today isn't just about how to migrate, but I think I will be showing you how to rethink and enhance your dashboards because they are slightly different than what you used to of with classic dashboards. And I'll show you what is possible and what to look for and how to migrate and make this transition smoother. Before we begin, I would like to all of you that you read the safe harbor statement. Essentially, it's stating that whatever I will be doing today is subject to change. It can be changed without any prior notice. And please note that anything which I will be showcasing today or giving you an advice is very general in nature, and it does not really target any specific business need. So yeah, I'll leave this one up for a couple of seconds. Okay, so most of you, I believe, would already know about Precise, but here is a brief introduction. At Precise, we have been helping businesses to improve the ERP systems for over 30 years now. Our team is about 50 professionals, which are mainly based in Perth, but we do have presence in other parts of the world, including US, UK, Netherlands, and New Zealand. And as an Epicor premium partner, we are proud to be named as Epicor International Partner of the Year 5 times. In addition to that, we have a team of certified consultants, which are certified in manufacturing space, aged care, technical, and finance. And as part of consulting, we do develop our own software solutions like ARM, APM, and POS. I'm pretty sure some of you might have already worked with one of these solutions, which are sold worldwide through Epicor. Additionally, we are certified Epicor Platinum ISV partner as well. Okay, let me introduce myself briefly. My name is Mateen. I'm a technical team lead at Precise for ERP services based here in Perth. I have started my career as a developer, but then I transitioned into consulting, and I have been doing this for almost 6.5 years now. Predominantly, I work in Epicor space, either it's solution development, process enhancement, or any automations. I work with Application Studio plus integrations and any sort of automations using either standard tool sets or SDK. I have an opportunity to work with the various industries, including manufacturing, distribution, aged care, and other financial systems. But for last couple of years, my main area of focus is to solution architect the integrations. In last two and a half years, I actually worked on about 10 enterprise level integrations using Epicor standard toolset, plus using Azure Logic Apps as well. As part of consulting, I do work with ARM as well, and sometimes I do upgrade any SDK solutions. Outside of work, I really enjoy playing cricket and spending time with my family and friends. That's all about me. I hope you will find this session insightful. Let's get started. Okay, here is what we will cover today in this session, starting with introduction to Application Studio. Then we'll jump into classic versus Kinetic dashboards and how they are different. And then I'll give you a brief overview of layers in Application Studio. They are like a classic customization with a slight difference. We'll be talking that. And I'll show you what debugging tools and techniques are available with the Kinetic application. And we will do the live demo of converting a simple dashboards to Kinetic and applying a customization to it. In fact, I will be starting with the demo, and along the way, I'll cover all these topics listed here. To keep this session interactive, feel free to post your questions in the chat. We'll have some time at the end for Q&A, but I have Hassan doing moderation in this session. He will be looking at questions, and if something comes up which needs to be addressed during the demo, he can let me know, and I'll try to address that. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started with the demo. Before even I show you what we will be doing today, I would really like to highlight the version I'm working in. You can see that on my screen. I will be working in 2024.2.14. That's the, I think, latest variant available with the patch for manufacturing clients. If you are an aged care customer, to access this functionality, you should be on SLS 2025.1. All the SaaS Epicor customers, their pilot system is already upgraded to that. But if you're on-prem, you would have to either upgrade to this version or wait for the upgrade later down the track and then give it a go. Okay, so let's look into it. This one. Okay, so I'll show you the dashboard I created for this demo purpose. It's a very simple dashboard which lists the customers I got in my demo VM with two trackers. One is customer ID, which is equal to, and then we got a name which work as starts with. So if I put something in the name and I do a refresh, it will bring back all the records which starts with EA. But the ID is the actual ID, so I have to put a complete ID in and do a refresh, and you will see that filter is applied. In addition to this, I have created a customization and added two action buttons, action 1 and action 2. Action 1 just displays the message that it comes from custom action 1, which is an updatable BAQ, and I created a custom action against it. I think it's a very simple custom action, and I didn't want to put any complexity there because that's out of the scope of this session. Just wanted to showcase you that in case if you're working on something and you got custom actions, how you're going to uplift them to Kinetic. So second one is pretty similar. It calls the action 2 from a custom updatable BAQ, but then that BAQ actually invokes a function. So I just wanted to put that an extra flavor there, okay, that in case if you have a custom action which invokes a function, how you are going to call that from Kinetic. So that's a very simple dashboard, which we will be uplifting to a Kinetic app. Remember that even with the latest version of Epicor, it's a two-step process. We can convert the classic dashboard using Epicor standard toolset, but the customization needs to be rewritten. You cannot convert the existing dashboard customizations to Kinetic customization as is. They have to be rewritten, or at some point you might have to rethink the logic and see where you are going to put it. Ideally, it needs to go in functions or maybe against the updatable BAQ. You could have custom actions there. You can put all of your logic in the server on the server side. Okay, so let's convert this dashboard. I'll open up my dashboard maintenance. You guys might be familiar with this screen. So that's a customization. That's the dashboard maintenance screen where you develop the classic dashboards. You can see I don't have the action buttons here because they are not part of the standard dashboard. That was a customization I did. So in order to uplift this one to Kinetic, what we need to do is we'll go to the tools, deploy dashboard, and down at the bottom, you can see we got a generate application option. We'll click this one and then deploy. So before deploying that, if you wish, you can preview the dashboard here. What I'll do is I'll deploy and then show you how the Space Kinetic dashboard looks like in the web. So let's deploy this. Okay, so you can see it has generated a JSON file. That's the name of it. Let's go. I'll close that one. Okay, from this point onward, I will switch to web view instead of using the classic screen, because that is where Epicor is heading as well. In the later versions of Epicor, we will not get any smart client or a thick client, you call it. We will only have web option available. And to be honest, based on my experience, working with Kinetic Screen in browser is much better, and it gives you an overall better performance plus feel and look. So that's why for this demo, I'll be switching to my browser now. So that's the same environment I'm logged in. I'll do a refresh just to make sure we got everything in there. So I'll click on this one, and I have created a custom menu for the Kinetic version of this dashboard. So if I bring it up, so you can see this is the stock standard dashboard, which is uplifted from the classic dashboard. You can see we got two filters there, customer ID and name. And then if I move it aside, we got a refresh button up on the top. If I click refresh, it's going to bring back all the data we have seen on the classic dashboard as well. So a couple of things which are missing. We don't have that action buttons I added via customization. As I said earlier, we cannot uplift the customization as such. It needs to be rewritten. The other thing which I would really like to change about this dashboard, or any dashboard I actually work with, is the tracker, because every time you have to put a filter in, you need to bring it from the side. It's called slider panel. You need to put a value in, like if I put the same filter, you have to close this and then do a refresh, and that is going to put a filter against your grid. In order to reset the filter, or if you want to change the filter, you have to go back again and then bring it and put a new filter in and do a refresh. So it's for me, I believe it's quite a few clicks when you have when you need to interact with the dashboard. And if you constantly work in that dashboard, I believe having the tracker up on the top is a better approach. So in this scenario, in this particular demo, I will be showing you how we can bring this slider panel up on the top, and plus I'll be adding that customization back into the Kinetic view as well. So let's start with that. First thing first, we will open up our application studio. Unlike classic version of Epicor toolset, application studio is what you need for every customization, because in classic you have to develop dashboards in dashboard maintenance and then do the customization in the customization view. So those are two different things. But in Kinetic, if you are even starting from scratch, you can just do a new dashboard using Application Studio. You can create a new app, which is essentially a custom app for yourself, or you can do a customization for any existing app as well. So you can see I have that application ID here, which we just converted. It's sitting in a base layer, and the type is dashboard. So what I'll do is I'll click on base. So as soon as you click on base, you can see we got two options: use base or use layer. Use layer is essentially a customization which we have been doing in classic screens. The base variant is what we did in the dashboard maintenance. When you initially create your dashboard, that is what base refers to in Kinetic view. So in case if you want to change something at the base level, you can go ahead and change it in the base level, but just be mindful that in case if someone regenerates the same app, it's going to override any settings you have done in your base. But on the other side, if you do something on the layer, it will still persist. You can keep on regenerating the dashboard if you want, and your customization will still work. This base option is only available for the dashboards you are going to develop. For us as Precise, we can see the base option for all other Epicor standard screen as well, because Precise do own SDK license. So if any one of you do have access to SDK, you might be able to change Epicor base apps as well. But in case if you are running with standard license, all you can see is the layer option for all other apps, but for the dashboards, you can see the base option as well. But this demo, I will be using a layer option instead of base. There are some advantages when you use the base for dashboard. I will highlight them when we will look into the layer component. So I'll click on this one. Before I do anything, I'll save my layer with a name. So let's put customer one. Save this one so we don't lose anything. Okay, so let's look at the interface. What we can see as soon as you open something up in the application designer, you will see an application map, and we got 2 pages. So if you notice, I mentioned pages in Kinetic. Everything is about a page, and any page we add to our app needs to be linked with a parent. Like we have the tracker that's linked to our demo parent, but the actual the parent container will stay as is, but anything which comes after that needs to be either linked with the tracker or it needs to be a child of demo. So you will see this application map. You can click on any one of them and edit. So if you click on any one of them, you will see the details which we can change. These are all the properties available. So I won't go into the detail of all the properties. You can look at that, but I'll give you an insight on some of the properties we'll be using throughout the demo. If you look at this sidebar, we got a layout. In the layout, we have a similar structure. It's not visual, it's a tree view structure, but it essentially gives you the same information which you can see in the application map. You can see we got demo customers, we got tracker, and yeah, so it will keep on growing as we keep on adding pages into our apps. So the next one on the list is data rules. In classic customization, we used to have row rules and data rules. So essentially in the Kinetic app, we got data rules as an equivalent of that. So you can see all the rules are listed here. You can create your custom rules, or this one was the one which was created by Epicor when we uplifted this dashboard. Next on the list, we got events. All the events which we have, which Epicor has generated so far, they are listed here. There are different types of events. It could be a control-based event. It could be a database event, like having something working on the API data view or API binding. Then we got journal events, which could be anything. And then we have user-defined events. We will be creating a couple of events, so you will see where they go. The other one on the list is data view. As part of the transition from Classic to Kinetic, this is something which hasn't changed. We used to have data views in Classic, and they are essentially the same in Kinetic as well. You can see there are 2 of them which are created by this transition automatically, and then TransView is something which is part of every app, because that's mainly responsible for most of the transactions happen in Epicor space. The last one on the list is the history. So you could have more than one layer, and they could be in draft, they could be in publish mode, but anything in your layers, it will be listed here for the when you published it, when it was originally created, and all that. So you can see that information here. Okay, so that was a quick overview of Application Studio. I'll open up our demo customer page, and let's edit that, and then So now I'll open up the tracker as well. So you can see this was the tracker which we were able to see as soon as we load our dashboard. It comes up as a slider panel. And then this is the grid which shows the actual data. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to have a similar design which I had in my classic dashboard. So in order to do that, I will start with reducing the size of this one. So you can see here, I got the checkbox which says box layout. So this box layout is only available in 2024.1 onwards, I believe. If you're working in an older version of Kinetic, you might not see this, but you can still achieve the same design by dragging and dropping the components on the top and then adjusting the height property. But yeah, but in last at least two versions, Epicor has done quite a lot of work with their toolset, Kinetic toolset, and they did improve quite a few things. And that's one of those things. You can see that it's now we got a box layout. It's a lot easier to shuffle around components. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll search for panel card in Kinetic customization or Kinetic view. Everything needs to be in a container, and there are certain components which are container based. Like one of them is panel card. The other one, which most commonly used, is the panel card grid. And we got a group box as well. If you are happy using group box, you can use that. But for this particular demo, I'll be using panel card as my container, and then I'll design my layout. So I'll put it up on the top. We'll make it a bit bigger. And I'll bring another panel card for the actions. In the classic, if you remember that we got actions on the right side, and then we got the actual panel on the left side, the trackers. What I'll do is I'll give them a proper title. So you switch from you click on the actual panel card, switch to properties, and then you can change the properties from here. I'll go tracker just to make sure that it all looks good. We have actions on this side. And okay, so this is a good starting point. The next thing I would like to bring in is I'll uncheck this one so we can start filling in our container. I'll bring in two columns for now. I'll probably increase that to four columns. So what I generally like to do when I'm working on any Kinetic app is to divide my container into multiple columns. That way it's a lot easier to manage the controls. So to start with, I have added two columns, but I believe I'm going to increase that to four. But before that, let's go to tracker. And what you can do is you can copy and paste them wherever you want. So what I'll do is I'll press Control X and bring it here in this tracker. So that's I'll do Control V and it will paste it here. Same with the name. I'll put this one here as well. And the last one, don't forget this reset button, because if you need to reset your filter, you can click on this button. So I'll click that, and then I'll put this reset button here for now. What I'll do is I'll increase. So if you need to divide it into four, so before I do that, I'll make it a little bigger so you can see. So if you need to make this one divide this one into more than two columns, you can click on the columns tab, go to properties. In the advanced, you can change that to any number you want. So I'll go with four. I think that looks okay. Okay, the next thing I would like to do is I'll put one column in my actions as well, so we can at least start putting our action buttons there. So what I'll do is I'll bring two buttons in. So okay, this one, and I'll change the properties. So for this one, I'll put btn action one. Copy this. And for this one, we'll do action 2, and that will be action 2. At this stage, I'm just working with the design. I'm not too worried about the functionality as such. We will fix the functionality. I just wanted to make sure that I got the design up, and then I'll start putting the functionality against each items we are working on. Okay, so let's put it back to its original size, and I'll make this one short. One thing I would like to do is I'll get rid of these items. I'll clean this tracker panel. Okay, so remember that we can delete something from the tracker, but I would not recommend deleting the actual tracker page. I have done that in past, and I think Application Studio does not like that because there are quite a few things hanging on that page. So if you delete that, it's going to create problems for your app. So I wouldn't recommend deleting it. What you can do is you can clean it up, and I'll show you a way how we can stop this one to actually pop up as soon as we test something. So before I do anything else, I'll show you how our design looks like. I'll do a preview. Okay, here we go. So you can see our panel is now empty. It still comes up. We'll do something about it. If I close that, we got our tracker up on the top. We got action 1, action 2 button there. And if I put something here and do a refresh, it's still functional. You can see that. If I do a refresh and then reset and refresh, you can see it comes up with that, even with the name. It's the name filter is also working. So all we did is I created a panel card and then copy pasted all of our trackers in search columns into the tracker panel. We moved our reset button from the slide out panel into this one as well. And then we got the action buttons, which are just sitting there. We don't have any functionality around it for now. Before we do something else, what I would like to do is I want that slide out panel to be stopped. I don't want that to come up straight away as soon as we load this dashboard. The other way to bring that tracker panel is to click on the grid on this overflow menu, and then click this button, and that will bring up the tracker. So there are two things we need to do. We need to get rid of this button as well so that user won't bring it up. The second thing I need to do is I need to stop the event, which brings this tracker panel straight up as soon as the window is loaded. For any Kinetic app or even any classic app, or if you're working with any other software, the first or the very first of the events, one of the first event which gets triggered is the form onload event. So you can see that once the form is loaded, it brings the panel back. So based on this assumption, I think, okay, Epicor will be calling that form onload event to actually slide out that panel. So immediately I will look at that. The other option to identify which event Epicor is calling is to actually go into the debugging options. We got so the debugger isn't an Epicor specific debugger we are using. It's a standard debugger which comes with your browser. If you're working with Google Chrome have their own developer tool. If you are in Microsoft Edge to have its own developer tools as well. So you can bring it by putting the shortcut in Control-Shift-I, or in Chrome, I think it's F12. Or you can go to this overflow menu, go to more tools, and then click on developer tools. So what it will do is it will bring up this screen. You have a network tab to track any network activity happening. It's similar to the trace we used to do in classic apps. So let's say if I wanted to see what Epicor calls, if I click on the refresh button, it tells me here in the network tab, you can see the execute BAQ was triggered. And if I go to, if I click on that, I can see what was the response. I can go into a preview mode and see what I got in the results. We got a payload, what was actually sent from UI to the server. You can see the query ID was this one. And the execution parameters, we got a few execution parameter settings being sent across. Haven't put a filter in. If I put a filter in, it will be sent across as an execution filter. And if I look at the headers, these are all the header details. But if you really want to see what happens on the UI level, if you want to track that, we have an ability to do that as well. To do that, what you have to do is click on the left side in your app somewhere, and then the shortcut you need to use is Control Alt 8, and that will turn on the debugging. So you can see the debugging is turned on now. And now if I click on refresh, and you can see the entire trace that Epicor actually invoked the refresh event. And then the next event in the line was execute refresh all. And you can see on the success, the event next was triggered, which actually refreshed my data view, which is refresh PBS underscore customers data view. So that is how you can track what Epicor does on the clicks. I will repeat again, to turn on the debugging, it's Control Alt 8. So if you need to know that what Epicor is calling when I click on this button, you can see it slides out that panel. You can see this event is being triggered when the window is already loaded. And then they call the action, which is slider open, and then they pass the ID of the page, which is PBS underscore customer 01, and then this panel slides out. So this is one thing where we can do that. But the interesting thing to note with this one is one of the event which Epicor calls is search initialize PBS customer. So that actually initialized my filters, which is customer ID and the name. And you will see why this is important. So what I'll do is I'll go back to the demo now. So we already know that how we are going to track the events. What I will do is I'll close this screen. And I'll go to the events, and in the events, either you can type in the event name. If you don't know, you can search for, I can type it correctly. You can search for load, or if you don't know the exact name, or if you know where to find it, it's under the windows, because that's a window-based event, like when a window is open. So I'll click on this one, and you will see that this is an event which was generated automatically, and it has this slider panel. And that is where Epicor is opening the slider panel. The other thing which we can look at is we can click on the actual events. And then this was the event which we already tracked, that Epicor called this button PBS underscore customer event. If I go back to this one, so that's the event they call. And you can see the exact same name here. If I click on that event, you can see that it initialized this event. So if I switch it back to the events as well, you can see this is the next event which they call. And at the end, we got a slider open here as well. So in order to stop Epicor to slide out that panel, I really need to overwrite the onload event. I cannot make any change at the layer level, but before I started, I showed you that there is a base option as well. But if you are, let's say, working in base, you can directly override Epicor standard events. But if you are in the layer like me, you won't be able to override standard events. So what we can do about it is we can write our own before event from this one. So what I'll do is I'll go back to events tab, create a new event, and I'll give it an ID. So I'll put before, so it's load. So I'm making sure that I put a before before there. So just to make sure that it's going to happen before the form is even loaded. So I'll put a trigger here that it's based on an event. So, and it's before, and the event we need to capture is the form load. So before form is loaded, I need to do something. What I can do is I'll switch to toolbox. There are quite a few components available you can use. There are widgets for each one of them. So if you search for exit, you will find a widget to exit any event. So I'll click and drop it into the in my form load event and hit save, and we'll do a quick test. And you will see that now the slider panel does not open as soon as we we load the form. But the problem we created for ourselves is now the tracker is read-only. There are a couple of ways to actually enable that. We can go back, click on this button, and that will enable those tracker for us. The reason why they are disabled, because as part of form load, Epicor actually initialize our trackers. So or in order to get the same behavior, what we can do is I'll turn on the debugging again, and I'll see what reset event will do. If I click on reset, you can see it calls the search initialize customer event, which I'll copy this one, which essentially set the customer ID and customer name values. So that is how Epicor is initializing it. So what I can do is I can go back and search for this event. You can see here they are calling the row update widget. And if I go to parameters, in each column, you will see customer ID is set to an empty value, and then customer name is set to an empty value. That is a standard event as well, so that's why it's locked. What we can do about it is I'll go back to my form before form on load event, and instead of exiting it straight away, what I can do is I can call the next event, and that will be this event widget. And if I go to properties, it requires you to put a event ID, that which event you want to trigger. So even though this event is locked, but we can reuse it. So what I do is I'll put the event ID there. And before I forget, I'll bring that exit widget back. So as soon as our tracker is initialized, we will exit, so it won't bring the slider panel out. So now we'll do a refresh. This one is small. Okay, there we go. So we can see that customer ID and name, they are now enabled, and I can put a value in and use them the way I want. The final thing we need to make sure that we do is to get rid of this button. It's quite simple, because it is it's part of this grid, and it's in the overflow menu. Anything which is part of the Epicor grid panel is an action. So what we can do is, let me just close all of these. I'll go back to my demo. We'll click on our panel grid and go to Advanced tab. And in the Advanced tab, you can see there is an action data options. So if you click on action data, and that's the button which gets triggered as part of that action data. So what we can do is we can delete this, save, and if we go back to our quick preview, we will see that we no longer have an option to open that slider from this side. So all we can see is refresh grid or a few standard buttons. So that way we managed to get a tracker up and running. We got rid of that that button which brings back the panel. So at this stage, the user don't have an option to bring that back. So I think it looks good now. I'll move on to the actions. We'll configure our actions, which is action 1 and action 2. Okay, so before I do that, I'll make it bigger so I can generate events. So you've got two options to generate events. One is to go back into the events tab, and then you can create your new event, and then use that new event and configure it with a button click. Or other easier option is to click on the button, go to the properties under behavior tab. You will see a couple of options. It's not limited to just 3. That is just for your ease, because these are the most common ones which you would be using, but there are a few other options as well. You can explore that in the events directly. But for us, I will be using on-click events. So what I can do is I'll click on this on-click, and that will generate an on-click event for me, and it has populated all the properties which I would need. So you can see control, it's a control type. The hook is on-click, and then the target is action 1. What I'll do is I'll generate action 2 as well. I'll click on this one. So we got two options. Okay. So we'll switch back to action one. So what I had in the in the classic dashboard was, as soon as we click on action one, it calls Epicor updatable BAQ custom action, which shows a message. So we would need to do the exact same thing. Before I configure my action, I'll switch back to my BAQ just to give you an overview how that action looks like and where I have configured it. So this is the simple BAQ I created. You can see it's an updatable BAQ. By the way, the actions are only available with updatable BAQs. They are not available with the standard read-only BAQs. So that's why I made this BAQ updatable. So if I switch to updatable BAQ, so update tab, you can see we got defined custom actions here. I got action one and action two, and then I configured my BPMs against these two actions. If you already know about BAQ custom actions, that's great. If not, you can always reach out to us and we can arrange a session for that. So at this stage, what I'll do is I will copy this name because we would need this name when we are configuring our actions in Kinetic. So I'll copy this and go back to my Kinetic view. Okay, so now I need to call a BAQ and essentially trigger that event. So in Kinetic, there is an option to call any REST service, but specifically for BAQ, you can use Kinetic BAQ. But if you are going to call any other service like, let's say, user codes or customer or supplier, anything like that, you can either use REST service or REST Kinetic. But since we are going to call BAQ, it's a lot easier to use BAQ option, even though I can call the dynamic query using REST. But since Epicor has given us a dedicated widget for BAQ executions, why not just use that? Remember, if you are working on an older version of Epicor, you might see a different widget. It could be, I believe it was ERP-BAQ or it was just BAQ in the older versions of Application Studio. Yeah, if you are searching, maybe search for BAQ instead of Kinetic and it will come up. So if I put BAQ, you can see it comes up in the list. So I'll drag it here and select the widget, go to Properties tab, and here I need to fill out the BAQ ID. So the BAQ ID is customer, and then I need to link that BAQ with a view. So my view is linked with this view name. How I know that, or how you would know that, you can go back to your main screen, click on the grid, and instead of behavior, go to data and grid provider model. And if you scroll down, here, provider model. In provider model, you will see that your API binding is with this API binding 0_0. If I have selected the correct one, yeah, 0_0. So that is how you will see where your grid is linked. And we'll switch the mode from get to update because any action is a post event when we talk about REST. So update will trigger a post event. So we'll change that to update. And then the last thing I would need to configure is the action ID I need to call. So in the operations, what I'll do is I'll go to action, custom action, and what I have already copied, I'll put that one here as action ID 1. Then send all rows. What it does is actually pick the entire data set and send it across for processing. You can choose not to send all rows. You can have your custom data, which is, let's say, a selection of few fields, a few rows, and you just wanted to process them and limit the footprint on your network. You can also do that. But in this case, since it's a very simple dashboard, I'll just go with send all rows option. It's saved. And we'll do a quick test now. Hopefully it will work. Okay, so this layout, I need to fix that, but yeah, we'll fix that one later once we are done with our action. So if I click on action, you can see that we got the exact same message we got on Classic. And if I switch to network tab. So if I switch to network tab and then I click on action 1, you can see updatable BAQ custom action was triggered. And if you look at the payload, the BAQ ID was there. The action ID to note here is custom action ID, which we configured. And then we got the results at in this scenario, it was empty because I didn't refresh the grid, so it only sent the empty result set back. But if I had the view refreshed, it would have sent all the rows which were available in that grid. Okay, so since it is working, what we will do is we'll switch back to our action 2 now. And in the action 2, what we can do is, so since action 2 is it's slightly different than what we have in action 1. So what I'll do is I quickly show you where I configured it. Okay, so in action 2, you can see I got so in action 2, what I'm doing is I'm actually calling a demo library I created, and then there is a custom function, and I configure the parameters. In fact, it does not take any parameter or it doesn't send any response back. So it essentially takes an input from a BAQ and invoke a function. So we got two options now. In case if your requirement is to call the function from BAQ, you can use this option. But since this function does not take any parameter, I got a choice to either directly call it from BAQ or I can directly call it from Kinetic view. But in this demo, I'll just keep it the way it was on the custom dashboard, which was using the BAQ option. So what we can do again here is to bring in the BAQ and configure it. But in case if you wanted to call that directly via Epicor Kinetic app, you can use the Kinetic function option, or it would be ERP function if you're working on the older version of Epicor. We'll quickly configure that, and then I'll put a ID in. We'll select our name and then change that to update. And we'll change that to custom action, put an ID and press 2. Okay, I'll do the same thing here. Before I forget, I'll go back and change the ID and save that. And now if I bring it here, what I'll do is I'll close this one. You will see that we got our actions. If I click on action 2, you can see the exact same message we had in the custom classic dashboard. It's invoking a function from an updatable BAQ, and yeah, so here, so I can click on my button. Okay. All right, so that looks good. I think I'm happy with this one. The last piece in this puzzle is to make sure that this customization is available for everyone. At this stage, you can see up in the URL, we are working in a preview mode. Even though I am saving everything along the way, it is not available in the menu maintenance. So I wouldn't be able to apply that. So what you can do is you can go in and to publish, put a comment in if you want. It's optional, but we do encourage that you put a meaningful comment there in case if someone else is looking at it later on the track. So I'll press commit, and yeah, that's now published. So if I go back into menu maintenance, I should be able to see if I bring my menu. So I should be able to see that customization is now available in this tabs for me to apply. So there you go. That we can see that we have this PBS underscore customer dot one, which we are working on. That's now published, available. So one of the agenda item I had was to actually give you a brief overview of the layers. You can see there is one extra column which says order. We got order 0. If I had like more than one customization there, custom layer, that would have order 1, 2, 3, and it keeps on going. The biggest difference between classic and kinetic layers or customizations is that you can work on bits and pieces in different layers, and then when you apply them in an order, they will automatically merge in kinetic and give you a final result. Let's say you worked on layer one, which have button one, and then you worked on layer two, which have another button, and your ID is different. When you actually apply both layers to a menu, Epicor will automatically do the merge before displaying that to the users, and you will have button one and button two available on the screen without manually merging both customization. Whereas in the classic, we did not have that option. What we had to do was either use the previous version as a parent and then create a new version of it. But if you start from base layer, it will override everything you got in the other layer until unless you go back and apply them or manually merge them. So that was a slight difference between the classic and kinetic customizations. So we have, okay, what I have to do is apply this, apply, and what I need to do here is to save that. And if I go back, I need to refresh. So you don't have to log out and log back in for the kinetic views. All you have to do is do a browser refresh, and that should apply the latest change. So now if I open up my dashboard, you can see it comes up with a customization. We got our buttons working there, and our tracker panel is working as well. So if I put something and do a refresh, you can see that's working. You can put a refresh. I can see this button is on the far right side. It's sometimes it's a bit inconvenient to go that far. What you can do is you can trace it out and put the button here and then do an event, and you will have a refresh button right next to your tracker. I think that's pretty much it. I think we're happy with the dashboard, and I think I have covered what I need to cover in this demo. Let's go back to our slides, and let's see. Okay, questions. Let me review the questions tab and see if we got questions there. Okay, so we got a few questions. Do all customer get Application Studio? Yes, every customer will have access to it, but as I mentioned earlier, the SLS 2025.1 only have that capability to convert the classic dashboards to Kinetic using that dashboard maintenance screen. But if even though you don't have access to that in the older versions, but you can still access the Application Studio. So you can search for Application Studio in the Epicor menu, or you can bring it up on the web and then search it there. Okay, so there is another question that it was the SDK license. I think we are not able to edit the base layer. Yes, if you're talking about Epicor standard apps like customer, clients, or if it's supplier or parts or order entry, whichever Epicor standard entry screen you're talking about, then yes, you won't be able to change anything in the base layer. That is very limited to SDK. But for any custom dashboard which customer has developed, it means you have developed it or Precise has developed it for you, yes, we can modify the base layer. It's essentially same as modifying the classic dashboards. If you think of modifying a classic dashboard in the dashboard maintenance, you are essentially modifying the base of that dashboard, right? So you can do the exact same thing in Kinetic without having an SDK license. Hope that answers that question. Okay, so we got another question. Will you be sharing the recording with us? Yes, the recording will be, yeah, that will be shared to all the attendees, I hope, at end of business day today, or maybe tomorrow. I'll leave that with Nauri, but yeah, you will be getting a recording, and we will be uploading this webinar to our YouTube channel as well. So in case if you want to watch it there, you can watch it there as well. Okay, so we got another question that for how long we can use the you can use the classic screens or the classic dashboards. As of now, from Epicor, we know that they will be stopping the support for classic screens and dashboards in May 2026. From that point onward, everyone needs to be on the Kinetic view. Essentially, they will stop shipping the thick client, so everyone will be forced to use the Kinetic view. So we got plenty of time, and that's why we started this webinar as well. So you can start planning ahead and migrate what is really essential, because simple dashboards and customizations will be easy to uplift. There are certain dashboards which are critical to the businesses, which need to be rethink at some point, and then uplift them to Kinetic. There is another question, which roles we need to have assigned in the user maintenance in order to access this option. So I think if you have customization privileges assigned to yourself, you can use Application Studio. In terms of functions, Epicor now have three different groups, three different groups created for security groups created for the users. That is function, power developer, and then I think something to do with standard. So you need to assign one of those. You need to assign one of those in order to access the functions. And Epicor has introduced two new groups for the BPMs as well. So in case if you want to use BPMs, you need to assign those to yourself before you can access them. Oh, I think that's pretty much it. If you don't have any questions, we'll conclude our day. And all right, thank you all for attending, and look out for any next Let's Talk ERP Expert Series session. We will be doing that hopefully soon. You will get an invite. Yeah, thanks all. Bye.